on asthma. There is a treatise on poisons, which is used until today by medical researchers. There is a compendium of some 350 different healing herbs and medicines. And it's clear from the work that I'm going to be speaking about in a minute, the book that was written for the Sultan of Egypt, that Rambom had a mastery of pharmacy, of herbal pharmacy, because he provides many specific remedies for his patients. Well, the years that Rambom spent studying Torah and studying medicine in North Africa were short-lived. The family had to flee again. Initially they wanted to go to live in Eretz Israel, and Rambom visited Eretz Israel, but they were not able to stay there. This was many centuries before the Misrat HaAliyah, the absorption ministry. There was no help and only hostility from the population for anybody who looked remotely like a Jew settling in Eretz Israel. The family went to the major Jewish habitation that then existed in Cairo in Egypt. And there, initially, Rambom, whose father passed away, was supported by his brother, who was a trader. And when his brother was drowned at sea in a shipwreck, Rambom did not wish to make his living out of the Torah. He did not wish to use the Torah as a spade with which to dig. And therefore he decided that he was going to become a professional doctor. And I'd like to just quote you briefly from a letter that Rambom wrote about the time that he was in Cairo. The arrival of this very great Torah scholar and very great doctor did not go unnoticed by the ruler of Egypt. The ruler of Egypt was called Al-Afdal. Now, he was the son of Saladin the Great, and Saladin's empire was divided into Medinot, into separate sections. So Saladin appointed his son over Egypt, and Rambom came to the attention of the royal court, and he was appointed as the personal physician of the ruler of Egypt and his family in the year 1185. And here's how Rambom describes his day in a famous letter that he wrote to his translator, the Rabbi Shmuel ben Yehuda ibn Tibon. And this is what Rambom says about his day. I dwell in Fostat, while the Sultan resides in Cairo. This is about 2 or 3 kilometers away. Before there were cars, there were only donkeys and camels. My duties to the Sultan are very heavy. I'm obliged to visit him every morning. And when he or any of his children or the inmates of his harem are indisposed, I dare not quit Cairo, but must remain in the palace most of the day. It also often happens that one or two of the royal officers fall sick, and I have to treat them. Even if nothing unusual happens, I do not return to Fostat until the afternoon. By then, I'm dying of hunger. I find the antechamber filled with people, Jews and Gentiles, nobles and common people, judges and bailiffs, friends and foes, a mixed multitude awaiting my return. I beg my patients to bear with me while I take some light refreshment. That's the only meal I eat in 24 hours. I then go forth to attend to my patients and write prescriptions and directions for their various ailments. Patients come in and out until nightfall, and sometimes I solemnly assure you for another 2 hours or more into the night, I converse with them and make prescriptions while lying down from sheer fatigue, and by nighttime I'm so exhausted that I can barely speak. For those of you who know the significance of Mishnah Torah, let me just tell you that this letter was written about 10 years, or about 6, 7, or 8 years after Rambom completed the Mishnah Torah, which was after his commentary on the Mishnah. And so we see here this outstanding scholar of all time, the kind of life he was living. Well, we know that Maimonides prized the pursuit of medicine as one that can deepen a person's faith and knowledge and love of God through witnessing the amazing wisdom and intricacy of nature. Rambom writes in a section called the Shmona Parakim, one of the classic works on our faith, the acquisition of medical skill is one of the great gateways to intellectual expansion, the development of a noble character, and the knowledge of God. When a person reaches true proficiency, his quest is a great act of service. Now, I can assure you that Rambom did not go to the kind of medical schools that exist today, and he did not go with the kind of attitudes that many of these students go with, that they're going to make a lot of money out of this career. Rambom went as one thirsty for the knowledge of God and to see the wisdom of God in his creation and to understand it and to be able to help his fellow man, be it Jew or Gentile, to lead a life of well-being. In the book that I'm going to start talking about in just a moment, The Healthcare Regimen, he speaks about the calling of a doctor as one that requires years of experience, years of careful attention to matters that require very subtle weighing. And I think the thing for us that is most important about what he says about medicine is something which there's practically no doctor today that practices. Rambom says that the mark of the true doctor is that he teaches his patients how to live a healthy life so that they will not need his services as a healer. Rambom writes explicitly in The Healthcare Regimen that that is the primary work of the doctor, to keep people healthy. That is totally the opposite of our medical establishment today, which is one of the biggest money spinners in the world, which involves mega millions, not to speak of the pharmaceutical industry. And the only people who are talking about healthcare are a fringe group who are, we have every kind of diet and exercise system banded about, but there's no wisdom like the simple wisdom. And that is why I've chosen to go back to Rambom, to our great sage who lived over 800 years ago, for a true approach to the secret of fulfilling the first mitzvah of the Torah, to know God, which comes about through taking care of the kli, the vessel, the body, so that the body is fit for the dwelling of the soul, so the soul, the mind, and the heart may know God. Well, one time, this ruler of Cairo, who didn't have to be afraid of anybody, you can just imagine the kind of tyrannical Islamic ruler, the son of Saladin the Conqueror, and he suddenly writes to his Jewish rabbi doctor that he's depressed, that he's getting headaches, that he has no interest in anything, and what should he do? Well, now, any regular doctor who has such a tyrant as his master would probably start shuddering and shivering. How is he going to answer him? How is he going to do something for him? And here, our outstanding scholar of the Torah, after years of plumbing the very depths of the Torah, this philosopher, this scholar, this astronomer, this healer, with his vast knowledge, and he must have done this very quickly, because surely the Sultan didn't want to wait around until 6 months passed by the time Rambom gets to figure out what to do. He writes